Really? You don't say.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. Monday Night Football wrap up week 13 with some Broncos and Browns action out there in the Mile High City. All right. Yeah, 6-point spread, 42.5 point total. Should be fun. We'll see what we can get into here. Dave Loughran, along with me as always, Matt Gajewski. And I tell you what, Matt, I don't think anybody would have looked at this game in week 13 before the season started, though. We look at a week 13 game between the Browns and Broncos and thought that the Broncos would be minus 180 to make the postseason, and the Browns would have absolutely no shot while starting Jameis Winston.
The Jameis Winston thing is probably the most likely thing you said heading into the season. And it took a Deshaun Watson Achilles tear to get there because they were not benching him at any point. But you're right. Sometimes you have these weird little nuances to the NFL season that make certain games better than others or worse than others. I think this is a pretty good game. I think Cleveland is a little underrated with Jameis under center. They've been pretty banged up all year, not quite lived up to their potential, but this is a good roster. So I think this is a live game. It should be a fun one overall. I wouldn't be selling this one short.
I'm not selling it short. What I will say is that I'm not convinced that Jameis is actually good.
Oh, no, he's just fun.
He's fun. Exactly. I said this, I tweeted this the other week after that win over the Steelers, which, by the way, I'm all about the whole Jameis quirkiness and all this, personality, all that good stuff. But those eccentricities, that eccentric nature of his will become a whole lot less endearing if they start losing games and he starts getting picked off. So for his own sake, he's got to keep winning football games. But look, the Broncos have actually been a good team, man. And like, I can't give more credit to the Peyton Nix and Vance Joseph, because you look at Vance Joseph in this defense, you know this, especially with everybody in best ball and stuff talking about it all season long. They're like, the only foundational point, the only, mainstay in this defense is Patrick Surtain and everybody else is expendable. This is a full out rebuild. Dude, they have one of the best point differentials in the league this year. Their defense has been fantastic from front to back. They're generating pressure when no one thought this deep. Nobody knew the names of the guys on this defensive line. So, you look at them from where they were in the beginning to where they are now. It's impressive. Also, they're number one in pass block win rate. PFF has them with the second best pass blocking unit in the league. No one anticipated that either. So if there's one team that, to me, actually came out of the blue to be better than average, including at quarterback, pretty much everywhere, it's the Broncos this year. You could argue it's Washington as well, but the Broncos have come on much stronger of late.
They absolutely have. I am kind of kicking myself for not seeing it coming. I was definitely on them a little more than the public coming into the season. You mentioned best ball. I had a ton of Bo Nix there. He was basically free, but that was it. It was because he was free, not on the assumption that this would be a playoff team and getting strong production out of a lot of players. But I like the way they've attacked the NFL draft and taken shots on players. Like a player, Nick Bonito. I remember when he came out of Oklahoma as a pass rusher, he was top 3 in his class. I can't remember what number in pass rush win rate. And then he fell because he's not really sized to play the actual edge rushing position in the NFL. He was like a tweener. So they took shots on some guys like that actually, shockingly, guy's amazing in college, doesn't quite fit the profile of an NFL edge rusher because of his weight, but he's actually still really good, rather than, a lot of teams will just take the athletic freaks that aren't actually good at football and try to pigeonhole them into some sort of role, which doesn't work that often. But their offensive line, they have a lot invested in that, like McGlinchey, Miners, Bowles. Those are strong building block pieces, and they've gotten more out of their other players. I'm surprised they've been able to get this out of the receiving core is my biggest surprise. They're trotting out Devon Vele and Lil Jordan Humphrey, and they're not always required to do a lot because their defense is awesome and their run game is pretty good behind that O-line, and Nix is awesome on the ground. But man, I did not think these guys would produce at all.
And they are. It's really crazy. Speaking of a freak, how about Jalen Carter? I mean, my God, I got to shout out my boy in Philly. I swear they held him on every play. It didn't get called, and he's still found ways to get there. Man, he's good. When the Eagles drafted him, Ben texted me and he's like, "You just got the best player in the draft." He was so excited about it. He's not even an Eagles fan. That guy's a freak, Matt.
Yeah, he is. He is. I mean, he went one pick before the Bears. They probably would have taken someone stupid anyway. But I did think he was a really good player in that draft. Behind the QBs, he was my favorite player in that class as well.
Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, Monday morning, Cyber Monday, take a single second, hit that thumbs up, atone for your sins here. That's what you can do for us this Monday. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, both of them, 100% free to do. There's no Cyber Monday deal on thumbs up and subscribe. It's always free. And leave a comment down below. That goes a long way for us. If you're listening or watching after the fact, we appreciate you. And of course, you ever want to listen in podcast form, we got you covered. Anywhere you want to listen, Apple Podcast, Spotify, any of those other obscure podcast platforms that we don't know are out there, but still are. You can find our podcast there as well. You ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's make it happen. First things first, $6,800 Javonte Williams. I know the Sims are going to give us some decent amount. I ran it already this morning. This backfield is so tough to figure out right now. It's truly all over the map. Like this guy last week still leads the team in snaps, which is, encouraging, but finishes with -2 rushing yards on 8 attempts, plays almost 60% of snaps. The week before that, everyone says it's over for Javonte, right? Because he had 1 carry for 1 yard against Kansas City, and Audric Estime was the one getting the work. Nope. Sean Payton says, screw it. Let's go right back to it. Only 9, but 9 for 59 and then 4 receptions on the through the air. I never know what to make of Javonte Williams, but they're 6-point favorites in this game. He has a 33 to 35.5 yard rushing prop today. What do we do with the backfield for Denver, man?
I don't really like playing it, to be honest with you. I think you're just rolling the dice. Not only that the ground success is where they get their production, and that's largely where it comes from. But then you have to guess which one it is and if they're successful. And Bo Nix does a lot on the ground himself. I think I would honestly just rather play Nix, even though we're talking different prices. Nix is very expensive and these running backs are not. But man, unless they just completely fit and fill out your lineup, I think Javonte is a bit over projected. Just very hard to actually project a role for him. And even for the books and the props, this is going to be extremely volatile week to week.
It's if I could just leave my lineup blank today, I might feel better about it. Dude, this whole game feels like that. By the way, Bug Boy, $20 super chat. Nice 4-figure day in DFS and hit my Ray Davis first touchdown at 30-1 last night. That is something. Great content, Matt. And I believe he said Laffy there. Thanks, Bug Boy. Appreciate you, man. And nice work. Just across the board. All right, here's a fun one for you. Who do you feel comfortable with? You could probably say Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix, right? And then you're just going to be forced to saying Jameis Winston. But Nick Chubb, I know he scored twice last week. He wasn't actually effective. He had 59 rushing yards on 20 carries. This guy, matter of fact, wildly ineffective since returning from injury 5 games ago. Jerome Ford has been phased out of the run game for the most part. You're seeing anywhere from 2 to 5 carries a game. Jerry Jeudy, Jerry Jeudy said some stuff. He said, I want to go out there and whoop their ass and all that stuff. He's got some resentments towards this organization that cast him off. Not the players, but the organization. Patrick Surtain took the high road and he's just should be a fun matchup. I don't think they have Surtain shadow him, but if that is the case, which likely wouldn't be, it's still a tough matchup for Jeudy. I think I might like David Njoku more than any of these guys this week.
I like David Njoku quite a bit. I think he's much safer than most of the players you just mentioned. I think Chubb, despite the ineffectiveness, is still a strong play on this slate because of everything you mentioned with the uncertainty at other positions. His role is ascending and they're just feeding him the ball at this point. So whether it's effective or not, he actually has bankable volume. You can't say that for anyone on Denver. Probably outside of Sutton and Nix, nobody has volume that's projectable at this point, at least consistently. And then on Cleveland, you have the pass catchers in a very difficult matchup. They're priced where I think you can still play them. The way I see it, and this is pretty wild, is I'm getting a lot of like 4-2 Cleveland stuff because they're just the more projectable team right now, even though they're pretty big underdogs in a tough matchup against this Denver defense. It's just, you know where the ball's going.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is very true. When you put it like that, it starts to make a lot more sense because with the fact that Cedric Tillman, I know you mentioned it, but the fact that he's out, who who gets thrown to at this rate? You know, it's Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore. I wanted to bet some under props on Jeudy, but you know, you start looking at it, like, man, 57.5, even in a tough spot. I don't know if I want to do that because he might just get peppered. And then David Njoku, who played 98% of snaps last week, dropped a clear touchdown too, just like the easiest touchdown ever. I know it was snowing, so that can make things difficult, but 98% of snaps for Njoku last week. Who do we start looking at outside of that? Jamari Thrash, who came in for Cedric Tillman when he got hurt.
Well, he's $1,000. You can definitely look at him.
I think you have to.
Yeah, for sure. He should play close to a full-time role, I would guess. They just don't have any options, man. We're talking Jalen Darden and Kadarius Toney, who are the other two receivers that project to be up today. And I mean, we haven't seen a snap out of Darden since week 5. We saw a handful of snaps out of Toney in week 11. Otherwise, and Toney wasn't with the team the whole season, so he's a little bit tricky to talk about. But I mean, these guys are barely going to be on the field. So I think Thrash is just the player that steps in right away.
Man, it's gross. Because if you start, and we like to bounce around on the strategy show too. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them out there. Rand said, is weather awful? No, it's just cold. I don't think there's going to be any significant wind and it's a typical December game in Denver, right? Nothing like that Sunday, nothing like that game last night. That was a wild game. That Buffalo game with San Francisco, there was some actual weather affecting that game. We've seen some of this for sure. This one, from everything I'm seeing, just cold, like 39 degrees, 3 mile per hour wind. And I don't see much changing there. But you look at the rest of this team and you look at, well, actually, Matt, you look at the cheap options on this team or on either side of the game. Usually we're able to pull maybe 1 or 2 guys down there that are cheap. I don't know who it's going to be, quite frankly. Like who can we pull from the bottom? Anybody down here that might have even some semblance of viability on a slate like this, because even guys like Jordan Akins are 2,400. Marvin Mims, and is Reynolds coming back? Like the guy's been practicing for 3 straight weeks. So I don't know. Troy Franklin is a huge question mark. You pointed that out. Lil Jordan Humphrey, another huge question mark. We don't know necessarily where the ball is going to go. Maybe Troutman, since Dulcich was released, but it's not like Dulcich was even playing.
No, Dulcich is awful. He's one of the worst players I've ever seen. Anyway, I think Thrash is the most consistent player if you were just to project this rollout and then factor in price. So he's $1,000. You're saving a decent amount of salary depending on which Denver receiver you want to talk about, like Mims, Lil Jordan. They're all a little bit more expensive than Thrash. I think Thrash just straight up plays more than a lot of those guys. And who knows what the target share is going to be. I expect it's a lot of Jeudy and Njoku and Elijah Moore. But even if it's like 4 targets at 1K, it's really hard to get away from him. I think he's probably the preferred value play for me. Like he's just going to play more than Akins. I mean, this team just brought up Blake Whiteheart again because Swaim got injured. He's barely going to play. He's 800. The only thing you could maybe pivot to is like a Darden or a Kadarius Toney if you think Thrash doesn't quite have that role locked up. Based on the snaps when Tillman went down, I think it's pretty clearly Thrash, but it's a very tiny sample, so I could see it going the other way. I just think Thrash is the most likely to play a majority of the snaps.
Most likely. Although I will say Jordan Akins at $2,400 might just be somebody that we need to consider on a spot like this. I mean, he only ran 13 routes last game, but with Njoku playing 98% of snaps, Akins played 41. You mentioned Swaim is hurt. Blake Whiteheart probably doesn't see much playing time. Do you think it's possible that they just run more 2 tight ends in a game like this? Like, I think obviously you're going to see a good amount of thrash because they really only have Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore as reliable options. There's no more Amari Cooper. Tillman is hurt. So maybe, yeah, Thrash and Darden. But I mean, it's pretty bad down there. They seem to at least like Jordan Akins. Well, let me say this. Winston seems to at least like Jordan Akins a little bit. The guy's seen four targets in 3 straight games. He's seen four targets in 4 of his last 5 games. Um, he's not somebody that's going to be featured in the red zone all that much, but you can't say that for most of these guys anyway. What do you think about this spot for Akins at 2,400?
I think he's fine. I would prefer to save the 1.4K with Thrash. But if you find yourself just with extra salary and you can go up here, this is a nice contrarian spot potentially. I don't think he's going to be severely owned as the situational tight end. But you mentioned a point that I'm not sure the answer to is how much 12 did they use? They don't use a ton of it so far this year, but we're down to like 5th string receivers. So maybe they just decide Akins is a more reliable pass catcher than a guy like Dart and Tony or even Thrash. We just don't know the answer to that. What we do know is he'll have a portion of the snaps on the field. It could rise a little bit if they do decide to use 12 personnel, maybe even close to like 50%. So I'm willing to use him. It's just when you don't really have like a healthy mid-range, I'm finding myself preferring to go all the way down to Thrash and then playing the guys like Sutton and the QBs who I know are pretty safe options.
Which is totally reasonable. Another thing, how much do we actually have to be worried about getting really cheap, right? Like I'm looking at, so I ran the Sims and I'm looking at some of these lineups. The highest Sim to ROI lineup that I have. Now I did 5,000 in the contest generator. So 5,000 field pool or 5,000 lineup field or pool. And I did 15% to first. The top Sim to ROI lineup has Jamari Thrash in it. The second one, but it also has Sutton, Nix, Njoku, and Winston. The second one has Jeudy, Nix, Broncos, Browns, Sutton, and Javante. But then look at this third one. Sutton captain, Bo Nix, Broncos, Elijah Moore, Javante Williams, Jerome Ford. I could go down the list. The more I look at a lot of this, the more I'm realizing now why I don't have like, I'm not overexposed. I'm not super overweight to any of these very cheap guys because I don't really need to be, right? Like you could go to kickers in this spot, absolutely, in a game like this. You could go to either defense in a spot like this, even though Bo Nix has done a fantastic job of cutting down on interceptions after just his first couple games. Jamari Thrash is my highest exposed cheap player, but I only have 14% at the flex, clearly none at captain. Going down further, I have like 13% Lil Jordan Humphrey, 9% Marvin Mims, and that could change based on the injury news that we get coming out of the wide receiver corps in Dallas or Denver. I have 5% Estime, which I don't hate at all because we have no clue what Peyton's going to do. 5% Troy Franklin. I'm not really overweight or even heavy on any of the cheap guys. My highest exposed guy, sub 5K, Matt, that isn't a defense, is 14% Jamari Thrash.
That's not very surprising to me, considering you have a lot of options. They're hard to project. So they should all come in similarly in terms of their projection. And I mean, just from a risk standpoint, would you really want to go out and let's use Marvin Mims, like play Marvin Mims in 50% of your lineups and he could be just stone dead without a role change or anything like that? I typically don't like playing DFS in situations like that unless I have some sort of angle where I think a player is going to be receiving an uptick in snaps or roll, which I don't think is the case here outside of maybe Thrash, and that's injury related. He could just be completely uninvolved. So to me, I think it makes more sense to make your stands up top and then spray the cheap guys. And that could even just be a roster construction thing, like 4 twos with 4 expensive guys, 2 punts, and just spray the punts, stuff like that.
I'm always a sucker for Marvin Mims, though. I will tell you that much.
I think he might be inactive. Actually, I don't really because he's a special teamer.
But you're talking about if Reynolds is back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the special team saves him. But man, Sean Payton hates this guy. I love him too. I wish he was on a different team. I don't know, man. This is really weird with Mims. This happened to him in college. He was like far and away the best talent that Oklahoma had at wide receiver. but he rarely played like more than 50 or 60% of the snaps. And his whole career, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Why can't Marvin Mims find his way onto the field? And this was in college. Then he was a high draft pick, goes to the NFL. The same thing is happening. Like this guy might just have a problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is because like if we probably should give Sean Payton a little bit of credit, right? For like over the years, understanding or having the ability to evaluate talent. Like I don't feel comfortable enough just being like, oh no, yeah, no. Like Sean Payton doesn't know what he's doing here. And I think he's proven that he does. Also, here's what I hate. This is one thing I'm not a huge fan of. Normally you'd look at this and say, oh, this is great. Okay, look at the last 3 weeks, right? He has 3 for 44, 2 for 49, 4 for 13. Mims was a guy that last year in the beginning of the year, remember those couple of opportunities downfield and you're like, oh, wow. You know, he's got a couple bombs that he caught and then he just got phased out of the offense entirely. Well, you look at this and he has what, 106 receiving yards over the last 3 games and 124 yards after the catch. He's basically being used like as you would use a running back out of the backfield. He has no deep targets over those last 3 games, which matters because he's actually been somewhat involved. What I'm getting at here, though, is they're basically just using him to pick up yards after the catch, and if he can't break tackles, it's a wrap. He's done essentially nothing all season, and he's seen nothing downfield. So you don't even have that opportunity for like the one deep ball that he can take to the house.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what to say with him. I've been down this road with him too many times where he makes a big play, sometimes multiple big plays in the same game, and you think he's going to experience a role change because they're playing freaking Lil Jordan Humphrey, and then he plays 25% of the snaps. I mean, he's just going to have to move teams for me to ever really have a strong opinion on him right now. Right now, my approach to Marvin Mims is when I run the Sims, if I get like anything less than 15% of him, I'm just going to leave it at what it is. I got 11%. It's sort of in line with the other dusty Denver receivers. I don't really know how you can make a strong take on this. Honestly, if I were boosting anyone, it would probably be Troy Franklin on the basis that he's a rookie and he hasn't been in the system that long. You could theoretically see a role change for him towards a higher snap share. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mims is an active dude. I mean, I think they need him for kick returns and stuff, but they just haven't showed a willingness to use him at all.
I don't think you're wrong at all. I mean, really, the two clear top options out. Well, Cortland Sutton, very obviously, right? Once you get
without
past,
a doubt.
yeah, and I'm Matt. I'm telling you, no one's happier than myself to see this. I love Cortland. I really do. I love. Like, I think I'm not. I don't want to say he's supremely talented. Like my guy is still George Pickens. Still, what a menace he is. By the way, he took like 3 unsportsmanlike conduct. he. Did you see any of these yesterday?
Yeah.
Just dropping the ball on the defender and then looking at the audience and going like
that's
that.
not a penalty. That should not be a penalty.
I don't know, dude. First of all, I
Who
love
cares?
it. Hold on. I love it. Like I was tweeting about it. I love this guy. I think the NFL needs a guy like George Pickens. Now, if I'm the Steelers fans, am I going, George, come on, man. Like, that's great and all, but that's another 15 yards. Yes, but as an outsider looking in, I absolutely love this guy because he can back it up with his play. Look, I'm with you. I don't think it probably shouldn't. I don't know. Marcus Morris did that once and he got penalized for it. I think he got fined for it. So
I don't care. It's against the rules. He shouldn't do it, but I'm saying it shouldn't be against the rules. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why is that celebration worse than any other celebration?
No, but that wasn't a celebration. Was that after? Was it even after a touchdown though? Like, was he just?
I mean, guys celebrate after first downs.
No, I know, but I don't know, pointing a gun at either way, he's great. He's great. Did you watch him drop the ball on the defender? He just went like that to the defender.
Yeah, that was good too. I don't know. Last time I checked, having a gun is not illegal. So I don't understand why using it would be illegal either. Like, the little fake guns. Like you can go hunting and stuff. It's not illegal.
So wait, what if he pulled like a fake gun, like an airsoft gun out of his
Well,
pants
I mean,
and pointed it at the crowd?
we're once you start introducing props, I think like the line may have been crossed.
Like TO?
Yeah.
Well, you mean gun props or props in general? Like pulling a Sharpie out or dumping popcorn?
Like you get flags for all that.
I know. Yeah. TO made the game better with that stuff though. That was fantastic.
I understand having an unregistered gun is illegal. I'm saying there are legal ways to obtain guns. I'm not a moron. I know you can't just go take a gun from somewhere. Like, give me a break, man.
Why are we? I didn't say that.
No, it's in chat.
Why are we talking about unregistered guns?
Because I said it's not illegal to have a gun, and then someone said it is illegal to have an unregistered gun. Yeah, no shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's illegal to have an unregistered car, but cars aren't illegal.
It's illegal to catch a fish without a license.
Or to drive an unregistered. Yeah, I know. Everything's illegal for everything unless you pay. But anyway. Point is
George Pickens rules.
Dude, he's the best. He's my favorite. I would love to win a tournament with George Pickens so I can frame the jersey. But before this long tangent, Matt, what I was saying is Courtland Sutton has not had a good quarterback ever. And now it looks like he's on path. Like the best quarterback you ever had was what? Drew Lock?
Yeah, man. Probably. Which is wild. Russell Wilson.
But Wilson, I don't know what it was with Wilson because he's been excellent in Pittsburgh. But the version of Wilson from the Broncos was probably worse than the Drew Lock version of the Broncos quarterback.
Yeah, he was. I don't know why he was so bad, but he was.
Courtland Sutton's on pace for a strong 1,000-yard season. He's just getting peppered with targets every day. Is Sutton the best play on the entire slate?
Yeah, I think you could really make that argument.
I think you could too. Now, point per dollar, unfortunately, we're going to be getting the guys like Javonte. You're going to be getting, Jameis at 9,600, but it's hard to get away from Courtland. What does my captain ownership look like? So it's Bo Nix up top. And then basically Njoku, Javonte, and Courtland Sutton, I all have in that 15% range.
I think that makes about sense. Pretty good sense there.
So, yeah.
I think Bo Nix is the safest play on the whole slate. And Sutton's probably too, just because Bo Nix has to throw it to Sutton for Sutton to succeed.
Nix hasn't rushed a lot lately. He also hasn't needed to. But I think that rushing upside's very live today to get away from that Cleveland pass rush.
I agree 100%.
19.5 rushing yards is his prop. What do you think?
If he forced me to take it, I would take over.
Yeah. I think it's probably a good number though. Nix is the type of guy though that if I'm going to bet his rushing prop, I think I'm just going to ladder it or bet an alt instead of betting the prop because he's either rushing for 5 or he's rushing for 50.
You can do that on one carry.
Right, exactly. So maybe if you're betting it, just take it at like 40 or something. See what happens. Anyway, yeah, I like Nix the best here. I like Njoku too. We got a lot of Njoku captain on, last week. It didn't work out well for us. It could have changed things if he caught that touchdown, but it was an odd game. The snow was even heavier than anyone could have imagined. I'm watching that game. It's legit whiteout conditions. I couldn't see a lot of the plays that actually took place. But what I was getting to before any of this was that Devon Vele's actually been pretty involved.
He's just at a much different price point for a guy that's going to play 60% of the snaps.
With maybe 5 or 6 targets.
Yeah, Vele, I think, is the very clear wide receiver too. But if you were to tier these guys, I think it's Sutton far and away number 1. Vele by himself in the second tier. And I don't think he's that far ahead of the third tier, which is like little Jordan Humphrey, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds if they activate him. So in a lot of my lineups, like I would rather just find my way up to Sutton or find my way up to the Cleveland receivers and then have to pay down for somebody like Troy Franklin just a little bit cheaper because it is a pretty egregious price tag for Vele. I don't know. He's tough, man. You're looking at like 65% of the snaps with Vele. What would you put his target projection at? Like five and a
4.5,
half?
4, yeah, 5. I'd probably put it right at 5.
What would you put like Troy Franklin's?
3.
Yeah. So I'd rather just pay like 3K.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, let's see what the reception props are. I'll take a gander over at over at Odd Shopper. By the way, guys, even if you're not signed up for Portfolio EV, the tool that's just been absolutely smashing all season long. I mean, crush. Oh, by the way, this is the last day to take advantage of our promos, Matt. Both of them, Portfolio EV and on the Stokastic side. So if you guys are looking to get involved, no better time to do it. There's almost 500 of you watching with us right now. I guarantee if I asked, hey, have any of you tried out Portfolio EV and tried it yet? Many, because I've seen it in chat all week long since we started this promo, many of you are going to say, yes, I have. And my bankroll is greater as a result. Even if you're not huge into betting, but you just want to make money and you want to completely limit your time commitment, that's the best part. You can get over 100. I had 150 bets the other day. It took 30 minutes of my time. You build out portfolios. We have a mass entry tool. You can literally just load these into sports books and set your wager and bet them. It's fantastic, man. And the results have been awesome. I don't watch hockey. I'm up thousands in hockey, in basketball, in WNBA. I tried watching WNBA this year and I turned it off immediately, but I bet it and it didn't matter. And I won and had a profitable season. What more can you ask for in this world than being able to bet stuff in mass, right? Bet stuff with volume, with small edges, grind them out, and not even have to watch it, not even have to know about the sport. 75% off. It is it's the best promo we're running right now. The link's in the description for Portfolio EV. Ask me questions if you have them. My DMs are open. The Discord is included. There's some super sharp people in there. Use that link, and when you check out, use the promo code THANKS. Okay. Now, usually it's $100 a month. You're getting the $25 for the first month just to be able to cover that cost easily and with your wins. So check it out. Thanks is the promo. But Matt, what I was saying is our free live odds screen, even if you're not a paid sub, is very helpful. So I went to receptions. Vele is, I'll use Pinnacle because it's one of the sharpest out there. Over 3.5 receptions, plus 105. Plus 105. Lil Jordan Humphrey, over 2.5. Heavy juice on the over. So, Vele clearly has the advantage there. And we don't even have anything on Franklin yet. But plus money on over 3.5 receptions is a tough ask at a mid 6K price point.
Where he came in the Sims for me was around 15%, depending on the run and what, percent to first and structure I was playing. He's right in line with like Mims and Franklin and the other guys. He's at a different price point, but I still like that it kind of came in the same range. He's sort of like a luxury spend if you find yourself with the option to go up and get him. But if I was making one lineup today, my preference would be to go down and play someone else on Denver. And you'll have to watch this because, yes, Josh Reynolds is on IR right now, but he's been practicing for 3 weeks and practicing in full. They do not have to activate him as of 9:52 a.m. Central Time on Monday before the game. They have all day to do this. He may play. We do not know.
And if he does play, do you think he comes in and immediately takes away from Franklin? Do you think Mims is just inactive and you lose his 15 snaps per game? If you had to guess, how does this play out? Because they do run every week. They run 5 receivers in some capacity.
I think Mims is safe because he plays special teams, but I don't know that for a fact. I think Franklin is the guy you deactivate if they do this. I'm not 100% sure they do, but I don't think you can do Sutton, Lil Jordan. I would personally deactivate Lil Jordan, but he's playing more than these other guys. And Vele is really involved, so it's not going to be him. I don't think it can be Mims because of the special team stuff, which leaves only Franklin.
You're right. But he's also, I'm wondering if Peyton, you remember Peyton was like, I want to see what the young guys have and all this good stuff. Do you think he's maybe changed his tone a little bit now that they're actually favored to make the playoffs? Because when he said that, they were clearly on the outside looking in. And now they're just rattling off wins.
I'm not 100% sure Reynolds is better than Franklin. Like Reynolds is pretty average to me. So I don't know. Like I have no idea what they're going to do. This is just straight up going to be a live before lock question.
And we will be on it.
We will be on it. It's a great day for live before lock. I like when we have these days where we have actual news pieces.
Yeah. I think we might get some surprise inactives today that'll make things interesting for sure.
Yeah, you never even know with Cleveland. I mean, if they deactivated Kadarius Toney or something, I would not be surprised. Or Darden.
Any of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Franklin hasn't done much, but he's a rookie pick they had high hopes for. He had a tough training camp. There were a lot of rookies that all of these glowing reports in training camp, whereas throughout the summer, everything on Troy Franklin was like, yeah, he's struggling, but he's been a little bit more involved. Even so, Matt, let's say he's active. You're setting his receptions prop at 1.5. You cannot put it above that. I'm serious. It's 1.5.
I wouldn't put it above it. I wouldn't take the over either.
And I think it would be 1.5 with the under juiced.
Yeah, I think so too.
Einsteinium, what's up, brother? Said, why would anyone play Vele or any of these dusty Denver guys when you can just play Will Lutz? You know what? You're not wrong. Will Lutz is also going to be, my assumption is Will Lutz will be pretty pop. We have him at 22%. I have around 27% at flex for Will Lutz. Makes sense.
Yeah, Will Lutz is fine. I mean, some lineups are going to need more salary than the only problem with, and I'm probably going to be overexposed to Lutz, but the problem with him is he's expensive, he's owned. Like those are two tricky things to navigate when you have alternatives. So like with Lutz specifically, I think he's a great play, but I don't plan on being overexposed to him when you have the defenses in this range. Like you wouldn't be surprised if either defense gets there. You have Jameis Winston on one side, and then Cleveland actually has an awesome pass rush. Yeah, it's a very difficult matchup for that pass rush against a Broncos offensive line, which has been stout, but still, like Myles Garrett is going to win a lot of times, and you're facing a rookie quarterback. Both defenses, I think, are in play. Even the Cleveland Browns at 3,600, I have no problem getting to them. And then I'm never really Xing out kickers. They're kind of just slate dependent.
I would actually take what Einsteinium said and just swap out Will Lutz with Broncos defense.
Defense, yeah.
I think the Broncos defense in that range is the best. By the way, Reese, is it Reese or Rice? Rice? I don't know. Tell me how to say that. Reese Powell. I watch these shows every week, even though I don't do a lot of sports betting, and I'm a very casual DFS player. You guys are great. Thank you. He said, first season watching you guys, and coincidentally, it's my best year for DFS by far without the Sims tool. How about that, Matt? I love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment, and congrats on the success. You have to do a lot of the legwork yourself, so we can't take all of it. Congrats to you, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Look at you. Look at that humility. I love it.
I'm a bozo, man. I'm happy.
Reese, by the way, if you wanted the Sims tool, I tell you guys this every week. We have the option where you can just sign up with any sports book, or we're going to build out a lineup in a second with the single lineup sim. 50% off for Cyber Monday for any Stokastic light package. So huge discount on that, 50% straight off the top. And the single lineup sim is included in that. If you guys wanted to jump in, it is 50% off any of them with Cyber 24 as the promo at checkout. But also, this isn't just for Reese or Rice or Raisi, but for any of you guys that are just looking to get it for free, we still have that link down there where if you sign up with any of our sportsbook partners, that's all you have to do, and then deposit. Usually it's a $5 or $10 deposit. The moment your first bet settles, if you just take a screenshot of that bet and a screenshot of your welcome email, send it to us at support@stokastic.com, email it to us, and you've got a full month of core. That's a $99 value. You get the sims, you get the single lineup sim. All of that's in there. You'll see the 4 steps on the screen. All you do, sign up, deposit. If you sign up for 3 books, you get 3 full months. You sign up for 3 pick'em sites, you're in a non-legal betting state, you get 3 full months. Sign up. Jordan can put that up on the screen whenever he's ready here. Deposit, get your bonus bets, get your deposit match, whatever it may be on the site. And then, like I said, take screenshots of your welcome email, first settled bet, email us at support@stokastic.com, and you're in. So it's that or Cyber24 is the promo to get 50% off your first month of Light. We got you guys covered across the board. There's no reason you can't get in and utilize these tools. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, links to all of this in the description. You'll see them. Just read them. It makes it very simple. Use those links. As long as you're using those links and you're using claim offer on any of those, you guys are getting in for free. All right. Either way, what I wanted to talk about here before we build a lineup out is I look at this range, Matt, from say, what do you think is fair? Should we go? Yeah, I got it. Okay, here we go. From 4K all the way up to 6,800. Let's isolate this range entirely. Now, we can immediately remove Stidham, Wilson, Watson, DTR, Bailey Zappi. We can immediately, that's 5 right there to begin with. You can, so then that leaves us with Javonte Williams, Devon Vele, Broncos defense, Will Lutz, Dustin Hopkins, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Jerome Ford, along with Aldrick Estime. Those between that's a $3,000 range. And those are the guys we have to choose from.
I think the safest options are the kickers, the defenses, and Javonte Williams.
I agree.
I think Vele is 6th and Ford 7th, and I think that just about rounds out the entire range.
Like even Jaleel McLaughlin, who early in the season was getting some decent passing down work. Matt, he has 1 target over the last 3 weeks. They're not even using him as a pass catcher anymore. So what are you hoping for? 5 carries at $4,800, 5 carries?
Pretty much. And it could happen, but I think it's probably low probability. I mean, he's like 190 pounds. You have 2 legitimate 2-down backs in Williams and Estime.
I would personally, between McLaughlin, Ford, and Estime, this may surprise you a little bit. And maybe I'm just wrong. That's okay. Because I am getting more Ford than Estime in the Sims. At that price, I'd almost be more inclined to go to Estime and hope that Sean Payton pulls some wild shit again and just goes back to Estime after Javonte had -2 yards on 8 carries last week. Estime is in such a weird and unique spot where he's either not used much at all, or he has 14 carries like he did against Kansas City. So all I'm saying is there might be something there where just nobody plays him and he's 5% owned. And like, what if Peyton just decides to go full Sean Payton today? In large fields, I don't think it's crazy. In large fields, I don't think it's crazy.
No, me either in large fields. I would think Ford is safer. Like Cleveland won their last game, believe it or not, crazy as that was. But we've seen Cleveland trail a lot this year, and that's where Ford plays more than Nick Chubb. And maybe it's not more at this point because Chubb is getting ramped up, but maybe it's like a 55-45 split, and they're 6-point underdogs. So I think Ford is like the safest among the really cheap guys in this range, like 4 to 5K. But I don't feel super great about that. Like, this is a very risky range. I don't feel good about anyone in it, which is why I'm trying not to live here in a lot of my lineups. But like the safer guys are kickers and defenses, which I never really like seeing that, but I understand it on this slate.
So do I. Most notably, Broncos defense. I don't have a lot of Hopkins today, though, at all. Usually I have more of both kickers. I don't have much Hopkins at all.
I wonder why that is. Maybe just team total?
His projections? But hey, look, this is a great field goal kicking venue. The altitude is fantastic for field goals. I'm
not going to X them out or like do any boosts or anything like that to the kickers.
Me neither. I don't plan on it. I just thought it was interesting to look at kind of this slate by like price brackets, Matt, because if you take that range that we just talked about, now if you drop below that range from like the 3,600 and down, it gets even tougher, which comes full circle from the beginning of this show where you were talking about thrash at 1K, because there's not a single player sub 4K that is not in some form or fashion a dart throw.
And thrash is the cheapest of them, and I think he might have the best role.
Honestly, with how condensed the target share has been, including Cedric Tillman, yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? Play
I know.
Darden, play Tony?
Those inactives could tell us a lot today, that thrash maybe just ends up getting more work.
I don't know, man. I don't see how you would use Darden or Tony, but I've been wrong before many times.
Especially with Showdown, we're gonna be wrong a lot when we're trying to like thread the needle on a single game.
Well, I think the biggest case against thrash is Akins and the 12 personnel stuff. Like, I'm not playing more Darden or Tony. Like, our projections capture a range of outcomes. Our sims capture a lot more. But if I'm trying to think of ways this maybe plays a little differently than our assumptions, it's the 12 personnel angle. It's not the Darden Tony angle. It's okay, maybe they do lean into more Akins and Njoku. They definitely did that last week. Like when Tillman went down, yeah, thrash saw a boost. But this was one of the heaviest 12 personnel weeks for them all season long. I think it was the heaviest. It certainly was the heaviest since week 4. And funny enough, Njoku didn't even play that game. But I mean, we had Njoku 98% of snaps, Akins 41, and Whiteheart at 17 last week. This was a huge 12 personnel game after Tillman went down. And they won. So, I mean, a lot of this is going to depend on game script. If they're down by a touchdown, you can't run as much 12, and they beat the Steelers somehow. So it's fluid still, but that's an angle I would consider. I'll be considering it through the day.
Definitely. No, I think overall you're right. Thrash might just have the clearest role to being the guy, and he's the cheapest. Derek, I didn't ditch you on Thanksgiving, man. Greg didn't schedule it. Greg does the scheduling. I'm always open to a Thanksgiving show. It's usually Ben and myself, but Ben wasn't around. Greg wasn't around. So none for me. It's the first time I haven't done a Thanksgiving show in a long time.
We missed you, man.
What's that?
We missed you.
Yeah, man. Who are you on with?
It was me and Eric.
Oh, okay. Jordan asked me on Thanksgiving, he's like, when's the last time you haven't worked on Thanksgiving? And granted, it's an hour-long show. It's not really work. But I think this is the first year in like, I don't know, 13 years. Because I worked at a drug and alcohol rehab. I was a counselor there for a long time, and I always worked on Thanksgiving. Those always got those, because it was an adolescent, 14 to 16 residential unit, Matt. So they lived there for, anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Those kids weren't, and I don't blame them, they weren't particularly pleasant on like the Thanksgivings and the Christmases. And generally there were fights, because who wants to be there on Christmas or on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, man, I can't imagine that was enjoyable. Hopefully your day off was a little more enjoyable.
Yeah, it was. I could relate though. I spent multiple Christmases in rehab as well. So
it happens.
It does happen. Yeah. Not by choice, but I didn't ditch you guys. I love doing the Thanksgiving show. My first profitable Thanksgiving slate since I can remember too. I got cleaned out yesterday though. Yesterday fucking sucked. It was great early on. Did you have a good day yesterday?
It wasn't too bad for me yesterday.
Good. At least one of us did.
I made some money, not like anything crazy.
My day looked great early on, and then just totally unraveled. But we're gonna get it back tonight. Some of the chalk
failed. It was weird.
What's that?
Some of the chalk failed. It was a weird slate.
Yeah, I don't even think it was the chalk as much that failed, as much as it was some of the stacks I had just didn't pan out. And I had some good Wilson lineups, but Pickens fizzled out. A huge Pickens game could have been good.
Pickens penalties.
Yeah. You ready to build a lineup?
Yeah, let's do it.
Last question. Nick Chubb. How much interest in him today? 9,400.
I have more interest in the Sims because I would rather just play stars and scrubs lineups. When I was looking at some of the lineups this morning, and this is pretty anecdotal, but just, like the lineups my eyes were gravitating towards, the ones I personally liked, a lot of them included him, and those were just more stars and scrubs lineups. Some other ones I like too included like more Elijah Moore, more David Njoku, more Jerry Jeudy. I like the look of those lineups a little bit more than lineups that just have two kickers, a defense, something like that. We'll see where I end up coming in on this, but it largely just comes down to Chubb has a very secure role on a slate where we don't have a lot of secure players. So even if he is inefficient, the volume should be enough where I think he's pretty safe.
It should be. And we saw last week, I wasn't super high on him. And, almost rightfully so. Like he had under 60 yards, but he found the end zone twice, Matt, and ended up being optimal in that game. So, yeah. Yeah. Let's build a lineup.
Let's do it.
Single lineup sim. Let's go large field, 15% to first, Jordan. Let's do that. We'll do large field, 15% to first. And let me pull it up on my side as well. All right. Who do we want to I think we probably, if we're building one lineup here, let's go Bo Nix captain.
He's the safest in my opinion.
All right, let's go Bo Nix captain.
I'm going to go with Njoku second. I want at least one of the big three Cleveland pass catchers just for the safety they provide, that secure target share.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this, but it does feel pretty sensible to throw Courtland Sutton in with Bo Nix.
I love Courtland Sutton. He would have been my next guy to pick. Seeing that we went three fairly expensive guys, I'm going to play apparently my guy, Jamari Thrash, at 1K. Open up some salary for us.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Also, not very popular. I do wonder if his ownership comes out throughout the day. That's yet to be seen. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do, Matt, and hear me out on this. I'm going to go Broncos defense, but I also have zero issue having a bunch of Cleveland players in there. Jameis Winston has never been a stranger to throwing interceptions, right? You could see, and Broncos are top, I think, 7 in interceptions this year. Jameis Winston today, he's minus 168 to throw an interception. So I like Broncos defense here.
That lets us play whoever we want. I would just throw in Jameis Winston to round it out. But yeah, I mean, there's two things with the Broncos defense. You mentioned one, having a turnover prone quarterback helps your defense, but sometimes it also helps the offense that he plays on. And the other thing on this slate is it's very rare for me to bring up this point. This is almost a preseason point. The Broncos are going to accrue points over the whole game. Most of the Denver players are not full-time players. You know what I mean? Like this is almost like we play defenses in the preseason because they play the whole game.
Right. Right. That's a good.
Like how many of Denver's pass catchers are playing 75+% of the snaps? One?
Courtland Sutton. That's it. That's literally it. That's it. I mean, even usually when you have the tight ends to get
and the running backs, dude.
I know. The running backs are all over the map. We have no, you're right. It's Courtland Sutton. That's it. He is the only, other than Bo Nix. Those are the only full-time guys. It's pretty remarkable. You're right. Okay. So throw it. Is that what 42, 43%? I like it. That's a good lineup.
I like it too on my playlist.
Einstein asks, how are these red zone defenses? Denver's red zone defense has been pretty decent. Cleveland, they're all over the map, man. Team doesn't travel all that well either. They really don't. I like this.
That's been a weird thing for them for years.
We'll build one more before we get out of here. By the way, this is the single lineup sim. I was telling you, Cyber Monday with that Cyber 24 promo at checkout with that link down there, 50% off any Stokastic Light package. This is included along with many other of our tools. If you wanted to check that out, you're getting a massive discount here. But the single lineup sim is brand new for this season, and it's been amazing. I know Matt uses it frequently. Ben does all the time. I do. Greg does. All of us. I mean, we use the tools we talk about, so it makes it fun. Let's go Cortland Sutton captain in this one. Actually, no, I'm going to, you know what? That'll be too similar. Let's go David Njoku captain.
Okay. I love David Njoku. I had a fair amount of him in the Sims too. Nick's by far the most, but I like David Njoku. All right, I'm still putting in Bo Nix.
Definitely.
I normally wouldn't say this about Nix, but he's almost like entering a Lamar Jackson type of role on this slate because there's so few alternatives. Where I want Nix, it's a question of whether it's the flex or the captain.
No, you're right. That's yeah.
Like when Lamar's on slates, that's always the conversation I have. I would not normally have this about Bo Nix if we weren't just lacking so many other good plays.
Yep. 100%. Give me Will Lutz. I think Lutz and Broncos are going to be kind of critical in this slate. 6,300. So we can pretty much with this slate do whatever we want. You want to throw Javonte in there, you can do that. We could play Javonte and Broncos defense. We can do whatever you want.
Let's play Winston with David Njoku.
Okay. So we have Njoku, Winston, Nix, Lutz. Right? That's what we have right now? Okay.
Correct.
Give me Javonte.
So that leaves, I'm going to play Broncos defense. Man, it just set me right up for it.
Dude, I think this is going to sim really nice.
Yeah, me too. I
have
can't
a
believe we got
feeling
Broncos in there.
Yeah, I think this could sim out really nicely. It's a unique build too. There you go, Matt. 140.
Love that.
That's how we end the show. What do you got going on this week? Anything that people should watch here over at Odd Shopper? Anything college football, basketball? Tell the people. And you can find him at Matt_Gajewski on Twitter, by the way.
It is conference championship week, so fewer games, but arguably the most important slate of games before the playoff. And then I imagine very early next week, like Monday or Tuesday, Ben and I will have our mega bowl game show as soon as we get those matchups. This is like a 2-hour mega show where we literally go through every single bowl game. Great for pick'ems, great for betting, whatever you want.
Oh yeah. I'm at Lafayette_D. I got the betting video for tonight's game. Come check it out. Support us over on the Odd Shopper channel too. 155,000 subs over there. Come join us. We love seeing our DFS family, make the trek into uncharted territory and join us over there. Join us for the portfolio EV, 75% off with promo thanks. All that stuff, we got you guys covered. The holidays are coming to a close up until Christmas, but for now, all the deals are alive and well, and they're huge. But more than anything, appreciate you guys watching. Matt, we'll catch him back here tonight. I guess 7 o'clock? No, 7:15, I think we go, right? 7:15 Eastern?
I think so.
Okay, so there's a late NBA lock today then, I assume.
7:30.
Jordan.
So Jordan is right. I'm looking at it right now.
There we go. 7:30. We'll see you right back here. Matt Gajewski and myself, live before lock. And I think this will be an important one. Have a great rest of the day, guys. Peace.